If you own a business or have to manage your own time, you can easily waste a lot of time on tasks that just take longer than they really should. I've been in business for myself for a lot of years, and I found that there are times in which I end up spending too much of my time on certain things. And so that sends me on a mission to try and figure out how to minimize the amount of time I spend on those things so that I can get back to actual work that I know is going to affect my bottom line. In this video, we're going to talk about 10 things that I have identified and implemented into my own life so that I could be the most productive possible. The first is getting control over my keyboard. Now, I spend a lot of time behind the keyboard, writing emails, responding, writing articles, outlines for videos, responding to customer needs, working on websites, editing photos, and all that stuff. And that can end up eating up a lot of my time. All of that time typically is spent at the keyboard. So understanding how to utilize my computer best so that I can get the most done is extremely important. Understanding keyboard shortcuts within applications that I use quite often saves me a ton of time, from taking my mouse and going up to the menu and scrolling to wherever that is in the menu. All of those little time-saving milliseconds add up to a lot of time wasted looking through menus. And so if there's something that I am doing quite often, understanding a keyboard shortcut that makes that happen is a time saver, especially as that time adds up. But to take it a step further, in the many times that we are responding to emails with almost the same response, or, constantly writing something that is relatively similar that could be converted into a template, or maybe even worse, we're going to some document that we have to open up in order to find the information so that we can then copy and paste that into something and modify it. That's all extremely time consuming. So there's software out there that range anywhere from a clipboard manager, which a clipboard manager sometimes will give you the ability to save a lot of different templated things where you can use a keyboard shortcut to paste those. I use one called TextExpander, which I've used for ages. It's absolutely fantastic piece of software, which allows me to assign keyboard abbreviations, or kind of like keyboard shortcuts, that will then paste into any application the text that I need. So it doesn't matter what email application I'm in. Maybe I'm in a Word document or in a Google Doc, or I'm adding a note to a calendar entry, or even writing a YouTube description. Rather than typing all of that out manually or going into some document and copy and pasting it, I can just enter my keyboard shortcut, which is like an abbreviation that I create, and then it pastes all of that information in there. But it doesn't just stop at that. You can customize these and add things dynamically, like as the date or a URL to something. I mean, there's a lot of features of TextExpander. It's an application that you pay for, but the amount of time that I have saved in looking for something and copy and pasting it, TextExpander has been a huge hack in my life to regaining a ton of my time. Number 2 is to use project management tools. Now, I don't know if you are a solopreneur type of person, you're doing everything on your own, you have a team, or you work for another company and are just looking for better ways to be productive. I am a solopreneur and work for myself, and I occasionally work with other teams, whether it be with my video editing or on another project. And so I need tools in my life to where I can keep myself structured and organized and get access to all the information that I need so that I could jump in and out of different projects. That has been one of the number one things that has slowed me down, is having to jump back into a project that was halted for a period of time. I didn't have a great way to organize all of my information so that I can better jump back into a project and know where I was. Now, there are great tools out there like Asana and Trello and a handful of others that are coming out. Seems like there's new ones every single day. I love those tools, but couldn't find the perfect solution for me, so I built my own in Notion. And some of you may have seen some of my Notion videos before. I've built project managers, task managers, CRMs, like a full CRM in Notion, and utilize Notion in a lot of different ways. And so you can build out something for yourself in Notion that's customized, that does exactly what you need it to do, and change it as you need. Rather, the other applications that are out there, the services that are out there, like Asana or Trello, are customizable as well, but you're kind of fixed into their ecosystem and the way that they have structured everything. So if you found that those tools might be a little over the top for you, or perhaps a little bit challenging to get started with, maybe building something on your own in Notion is a great option. Now, I've got tons of Notion templates that I've made available for free, so if you want access to those, check out the link in the description below. You can get my project manager template, my task manager template. I've got a lot of other templates that you might find useful in your life, so definitely check those out. And if you want to understand Notion from start to finish and how you can build out systems in Notion to stay better organized, whether you're just trying to organize information or really build some customized system that helps you stay productive, I've got a Notion course, and that is linked down below as well. It's a fantastic course that helps you understand how to build those types of systems in Notion while keeping it really simple and understandable. Number 3 is automating things. Now, in this world where we can connect applications together and have different things do different things when it's triggered is absolutely beautiful. I love automating tasks that I used to have to do manually. Those tasks that I used to have to do manually, most of the time wouldn't get done because they'd either get put off to the point where now it had been too long and it doesn't make sense to do that anymore, or it was just too tedious and time consuming that I just didn't want to do it. But now that we can connect applications together, a lot of different software that we use online, you can connect using tools like IFT or Zapier. And Zapier is a tool that I use constantly to connect one tool to another so that when something happens on one tool or maybe on my website, an action is triggered within another tool. I use Zapier to connect my website to ConvertKit, to Notion, and multiple other applications to achieve things that used to have to be a manual process. And I love this because now I don't have to just live in one world and the limitations within one of those tools. If somebody comes to my website and they're interested in more information about something, I can then automatically email them once they provide me their email address. My website connects to my email tool. My email marketing tool can send out a specific email to them. If they perform an action like click on a link or reply to the email, I can have a different email sent to them, and I can warm up this potential client or provide them with more information based on what they're trying to achieve and what I'm hoping to be able to provide them. I want to be able to add as much value as I can to any communications that I have with potential clients. And so automating that process is key for me because I'm, for the most part, a one-man show. And so I don't have endless hours to be replying and doing all of this stuff and manually doing it. So if I can put an automation together that handles this for me, it's absolutely fantastic. So I use Zapier to connect my website to other tools, and it doesn't just end there. You can utilize it with social media. So if somebody sends you a message through social media, you can automatically reply with something. It's just a great way to have one tool that interconnects everything. And that makes it so much easier because a lot of these things are a manual process otherwise, and you can save a ton of time by automating it. So I just recommend going over to Zapier's website and typing in an application that you use quite often, whether it be your email marketing tool, a web form tool, a social media platform, and seeing what you can do connecting it to other applications. It's absolutely fantastic, and you'll save a ton of time. Number 4 is utilizing cloud storage. Now, this might seem pretty basic because we've been living in a world now where most of the email services that we use or whatnot come with cloud storage. Our phones come with cloud storage. There's cloud storage connected to almost every single thing. But I utilize Dropbox for my cloud storage because I want one place where all of my files can live, and those files can easily be shared with outside collaborators. And it doesn't matter whether or not they're using a specific email provider like Gmail or Microsoft or something like that. It's just so much easier for me to use Dropbox to collaborate with others, whether I'm sending large files like this video file to my video editor who's halfway across the world, or just sharing something with a client. It's super easy for me to share access to files that I need to be able to send access to rather than uploading them to some specific tool because I need to share them in that moment. And now I've got to wait for it to upload, and then I've got to connect that to an email or whatnot. It's just so much easier for me to utilize Dropbox because there's software that runs on my computer. I can put it in appropriate files, and it's going to upload in the background to Dropbox so that it's already there. So not only do I have an easy way automatically to be able to share files with others, but I'm also backing up all of that sensitive information that I might want to access somewhere else. If I go on vacation or I'm somewhere else and I only have my phone, I can easily get into my Dropbox, look and access those files and send files to somebody else edit or manage a file on my phone if I have the appropriate software, and then send that off to somebody. It's absolutely a great way to manage all of your files and have them accessible, because if you don't have your computer and everything's stored locally on your computer, then you're not going to have access to make changes on the fly, which is going to add time and frustration to the whole scenario. So it's much easier for me just to have as much as possible in Dropbox so that I can access it anywhere I go. Number 5 is figuring out an effective way to track your time. Now, the number one thing that leads to productivity is not a lack of time tracking. I think it's more of a lack of us in the individual way that we procrastinate. If I'm not being super productive, it's probably because I haven't fully bought into what I'm working on, or I don't have a complete vision of the mission and I don't understand everything that I need to be working on. And so if I take the time to fully understand and assign value to what I'm doing, then it's easier for me to stay productive. But if you haven't identified the areas that you're losing productivity, then that's the first step. So you can use tools like time trackers, that software that you run on your phone or on your computer that will track the amount of time that you're spending on specific tasks. That's one way of doing it. Another way is calendar blocking, and blocking out time in your calendar so that you know that you're working on these specific things during these specific time frames, and then you can go back and evaluate how much you actually got done during that time. That one worked out better for me than time tracking software. I didn't like the ticking time bomb in the background where I was trying to pay attention and be as productive, but I was thinking about that clock that's running and looking at it all the time and thinking, have I been productive or have I been fooling around? Like, what's going on here? It's much easier for me to block out a specific portion of time to work on a task and then evaluate how effective I was after that. And I've been writing a lot more, and so I have like a notebook that I keep at my desk. And so if I find myself going down a rabbit hole or grabbing my phone and exiting to social media for a little while, I'll note that as an area where I lost a little bit of time for the day. And that helps me better remember and recognize the areas where I slipped a bit during the day and lost a bit of my productivity. So even though there's tons of tools out there, there are ways to track your time and stay effective and all of that stuff. But really it comes down to making sure that you have full buy-in to what it is that you're working on. The things that we procrastinate on the most often are the things that we don't fully understand or we haven't assigned personal value to. And because we don't have that buy-in, we don't feel that our time is valuable in what it is that we're working on, it's hard for us to exert that energy into getting it done. So a lot of it actually is mental work that we have to do, more so than it is having the appropriate timer that's making sure that you stay on task. Number 6 is using a password manager. There's been a recent large breach with LastPass, and LastPass was one of the major password manager tools out there, and they've lost a lot of trust, and it makes us also fear the other password managers out there. I don't use LastPass, I use 1Password, and I've been using 1Password for a very long time and don't have any reason why I shouldn't trust them. Even with the recent breach with LastPass, I know that all that's making 1Password do is make sure that they are on top of their stuff, which they have been. But 1Password, or any password manager that is secure and safe, is a tool that helps you keep all of your passwords safe and secure. You can lose a lot of time if one of your passwords is breached. And if you use one single password to log into pretty much everything, that creates a problem when one of those services, those websites that you log into, has a breach and you now need to change your password. One of the benefits of using something like 1Password is that each website that I log into, I can create a unique password for. And these passwords are like 32 characters long with symbols and numbers and all sorts of stuff in them. There's no way that I'd be able to remember that specific password so that I can log into that website. But using the menu bar app on my Mac and easily accessing passwords on my phone so that I can log in to these different websites or these different apps means that I have one individual secure password for that website. And of course, if something happens to that website, they get hacked and they get access to my password, then it's just that single password that I have to worry about changing and updating, which isn't a problem. Don't mind that at all. But all of the passwords that I have saved in 1Password, including things like credit card numbers and bank account numbers, like all of this information that I want to keep secure, but I want to have access to, we would have to carry that with us somehow. Like if I wanted to have access to different credit cards that I don't necessarily want to carry on me, like how would I do that? Would I write it down in a notebook? Would I have it saved in a note on my phone, which is not a secure way of saving things? I would need a tool like 1Password. I highly recommend using some sort of a password manager that also allows you to save other important data in there. I fly often throughout the year, and I have TSA PreCheck. And so my TSA PreCheck number that I use when I book a flight is something that I look up all the time. And I would lose so much time if I had to go look for a file in my file cabinet or find that piece of information somewhere. It's in 1Password. I can copy and paste it extremely easily when I am booking a new flight. And that's just one example of many ways that a password manager saves me a ton of time. I'll link to 1Password, and there's also 2 other recommendations that I have for password managers that I'll link to down in the description below. Number 7 is whether to choose one single display or dual displays or one massive display for your computer. Now, I predominantly work from a laptop, but my laptop is connected to a monitor when I'm at my desk. And then if I'm going to go work from a coffee shop or go meet with a client, I could just disconnect my laptop and go. I have a MacBook Pro M1 Max right now, and that is a powerful device that allows me to pretty much accomplish anything from, of course, the smaller tasks like email and all of that, up to editing big video projects, editing tons of photos and stuff like that, which of course is on the side of heavier lifting work that typically requires a bigger computer. But I like having that at my desk because I can grab and go and have that same configuration whether I'm at my desk or I'm somewhere else. When I'm at my desk, I don't want to be just working from a laptop. It's just not the most effective way to work. So I have a display, a keyboard, a mouse, and a dock that allows me to interface with my laptop much easier. And I found for me that a single monitor tends to be the best for me. I've gone down the path of having 2, 3 monitors connected to my computer. I've gone down the path of having extremely large monitors where I can have a lot of windows up. And I found for me, it is best if I am focusing on one thing at a time and having other applications on another screen that I have to shift between. For me, having multiple monitors and the type of work that I do, it makes more sense for me to be extremely focused on what I'm working on and then switch over to a different application if I need to. I actually do have a separate monitor on my desk, but it's not ever really turned on. I only utilize it if I'm working in an environment where having a larger display of additional information helps me with the task at hand. And that's where having dual displays might be beneficial. If your main task requires you to have additional data or information displayed so that you can reference it and go back and forth rather than switching between windows that are stacked on top of each other, that's where a secondary display might be extremely useful, or perhaps a larger display where you can display things side by side. Dual displays is essentially the same thing as having a larger display. You just have one large display with no line in the middle of it. And so dual displays is another way of achieving the same thing. Large display versus dual display. I don't think it really matters. I actually find one larger display better than dual displays, but I found that the best size display for me is somewhere between 27 and 32 inches. And that size of display allows me to see everything without having to move my head and my eyes around too much. If I'm going to spend a whole day behind the computer and my eyes are jumping around and moving around quite a bit, I don't want to strain myself too much in that process. And so I found a single display works best for me, but a dual display may work best for you. Number 8 is utilizing a VPN. Now, a VPN allows you to create a secure connection between your computer and where the information is that you're gathering. So whether you're logging into a computer somewhere else or to a website, it creates a secure connection. The number 1 opportunity for a breach is actually the internet connection that you're connected to. So if you're sitting at a coffee shop and that coffee shop has a weak internet, you can actually get hacked right there because somebody else has some sort of device that allows allows them to connect to the information, and that issue happens right there. So a VPN can save you a lot of time when you're connecting something remotely. I spend a lot of time in coffee shops working just to change up my environment. So I'll use a VPN when I know I'm going to be logging into something that has more secure information, whether it be banking or something like that. I'll activate my VPN. I don't run it all the time because sometimes a VPN will slow down your connection a little bit, but I like using NordVPN because it's an easy application to just have always running in the menu bar on my computer. They also have apps for my phone so that I can create a VPN when needed and connect securely. And I just find that as an additional peace of mind when I'm connecting to networks that I don't have control over. When I'm in my office, I feel safe. I don't necessarily need to use a VPN. But when I'm in a coffee shop or a hotel room or at a conference, I definitely use a VPN just to make sure that my connection is safe. Number 9 is to use a scheduling tool to make it easier for people to schedule time with you. How many times have you spent multiple emails going back and forth trying to figure out a time to connect? It's so much easier to use a tool like Calendly, or if you have Microsoft 365, you have access to Microsoft Bookings to make it easy for people to see the available time that's on your schedule and book a time that works best for them. They don't have to book a time and pay for anything or whatever. It's just a simple form that allows them to see what time is available on your calendar and choose a time that works best for them. I am honoring the amount of time that they have available by making it easier for them to connect to my schedule and see what time works best, instead of going back and forth, wasting each other's time trying to find something that works. I love using Calendly for that, and I've also tested out Microsoft Bookings. They're very similar in the way that they work. So I'll link to both of them down below so that you can check them out. Number 10 is to utilize AI to get the first step of something done. I talked about procrastination earlier, and a lot of times I'll have an idea that I don't fully understand, and thinking about it challenges me enough to the point where I end up procrastinating because it's taking up too much mental energy. So sometimes utilizing AI tools to get ideas put together, like this video, I generated ideas initially from AI. Once I get a list of ideas, it's easy for me to say, no, I don't like that, and to correct and adjust and revise and come up with something that I do like than it is to start out from scratch. And so utilize AI tools like ChatGPT, or if you use Notion AI is a great tool for writing. And I also use Grammarly to fine-tune that writing after I have corrected it or adjusted it, or even taken those ideas and maybe I don't like them, but it's now jogged my mind and I'm coming up with my own ideas. Sometimes you just need that creative kick in the pants to get going. And I found for me, AI is that. It's that creative kick in the pants where I can ask it something, it spits back some results, and I think, oh, well, okay, I kind of like that, or maybe I don't, and I start correcting it and adding to it and removing from it until I get to something that actually works for me and is from me, not from an AI tool. Obviously, if this entire video was written by AI, it wouldn't have any personality to it. It wouldn't have any personal experience. I would have to lie or rob from other articles to come up with something. So utilizing AI to come up with a rough draft or a general idea for an outline or a list or an article or something like that gives you that jump start that may be the hurdle that prevents you from getting started in the first place. Nothing wrong with that at all. So that's going to do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching it all the way through. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel here, and definitely let me know down in the comment section below what is one tip or hack that has improved your productivity. Share that with me down below, and we'll see you back in the next video.